Oh, hi, sweet little children. I'm sorry, I was written this on Christmas Eve, but I was sick over Christmas, so I didn't get to read it. But I'm going to read it to you now. But it's late, so I didn't get to read it because I was sick. So I'm sorry about that. But I'm going to get to read it to you now. It's a story about Santa's cat, and here's the story. Jolly old Santa rocked back and forth with his pet cat sat on his lap. This naughty ginger cat by the name of Gunner jumped out of his lap, sneaked into Santa's kitchen, went into the fridge, and stole the milk and gingerbread men from the cupboards. This naughty cat had powers to make himself invisible, and he had ginger fur but had powers to make himself invisible. Santa's grandfather clock ticked away, but Gunner the ginger cat disappeared into the huge clock, made himself invisible, then put himself into the huge clock. Behind the enormous clock hand, within the chimes of the tick-tock, was a secret passageway. It pulled Gunner through magical sparkling lights filled with glitter and multicolours of the rainbow. At the end of the colourful tunnel, he met with a being of light, known as the Ultimate Creator, who gave him two choices. Gunner had a choice of either deciding to be deceitful and lie about the milk and gingerbread biscuits by saying that he didn't steal them, or he could own up to his mistake to Santa and he could ask him if he could share his milk and biscuits with all the stray cats of the world. Gunner decided to go back to Santa and tell him that he was sorry. Gunner also told Santa about the stray cats of the world, who he saw on his way, who were hungry and thirsty and needed drink and food. Santa smiled and pat Gunner's head and gave Gunner a huge sack filled with cookies and bottles of milk. He sprinkled gold dust on him, and he told him to have compassion and love in his heart, and then that would give him the powers to fly. Santa also found 8 of his husky dogs to help Gunner carry the cookies into his sledge. Santa Husky's dogs, could also all fly. With Santa's help, Gunner and the Huskies fly up into the clock that sits upon the dark side of the moon, which controls time to help him deliver the cookies in just one night, and which is the same clock that helps Santa give gifts to children in all one night on Christmas Eve every year. This clock stands tall upon the lights of the rainbows. Gunner then went back to Earth through the tick-tock of the massive clock. Together with Santa's Huskies, Gunner worked relentlessly, handing out each and every stray cat of the world a bottle of milk each and a cookie each. This cheered up all the stray cats of the world. However, sad songs could be heard. The cries were coming from children who had been good all year round, but were not receiving gifts from Santa. Children who had been put on Santa's nice list, but the gifts were still missing and had got mistakenly unnoticed by Santa and the elves, for as they passed through the production lines as they were making the gifts, many of the toys and gifts had been falling off the belts without the elves or Santa's notice. Many times Santa had not even noticed missing gifts every Christmas Eve, but until it was too late when he looked in his sack. But by then it was too late for him to make more gifts, to go back to the North Pole and make more gifts, because he was already on his journeys. However, this story by another stray cat by the name of Len had noticed that the kids in the orphanage on his street were not receiving gifts. And that's how they came to know that many children of the world were not receiving gifts, and also because they could hear the cries of the children. Len spoke up as all the other cats sang sad songs of their poverty, but Len said, "We do not need to live in poverty, for if it is okay with Santa and the elves, let us work for them, for we are fast and agile, and we can catch all the gifts that fall from the belts during manufacturing. In return, we want a loving home with an elf each as our owner." All the other stray cats of the world agreed. All of the world's stray cats got raptured up and sent to a beautiful winter wonderland to live with Santa and an elf that was assigned to them as their owner. The eastern star that night especially glistened and glittered, and everyone was loved and happily with, and they were happy with plenty of milk and cookies and candies for everyone. And never again did any of the children, nice children of the world that were on the good list, ever have a missing present ever again. And that's the end of the story. I hope you all enjoyed it. Not necessarily a Christian one this time, but nevertheless, all the same, I hope it had some good good moral for you to take away, and I hope that it was a fun one tonight, and and I'm sorry again for apologise for it for being late when it was meant to be delivered on Christmas Eve. Anyway, better late than never. God bless you all and have a fun night.